He's added quite a bit of ink.
Not as many, though, as Matt Barrows, who is tatted head to toe. You just don't know it because he keeps it neck down. But he joins us right now from The Athletic. He will be joining us throughout the football season. My oldest, and not only that by age, but my oldest tenured guest, going all the way back to the beginnings of the night show as we enter, I want to say, Matt, year 17. Good morning.
Yes, we used to do, what do they call them, the talkies, the silent films together back in the 30s. Wow, those were the days.
Yeah, you know what? We're back when it made it a lot more difficult to do, or easier to do radio when it was just audio, when they didn't have moving pictures. When you and I were younger, Matt, no one's closer to this team in the media for sure than you. You've been covering them, as we just kind of laid out, for a long, long time. Are we correct in assuming that yesterday's Trey Lance news blindsided the team?
I don't think the news did. It was trending in that direction, and everybody sort of saw that in the preseason games, who would be 2 and who would be 3. It was the timing of it that was a bit of a surprise, because just the day before, Kyle Shanahan had said, you know what, we're probably going to take this decision all the way up until the Pittsburgh week. And, you know, whenever we do, it's going to toggle between Darnold and Lance during the season. Both guys will get a chance to be number 2 at some point, probably. It's not a big deal. Just a matter of hours later, it's Darnold has been named number 2. Trey Lance isn't even at practice. So it was abrupt. I'm trying to figure out the departure there and the timing of it. And I think it's because the 49ers want to see about trade possibilities. Teams have to get their rosters in order by 1 p.m. on Tuesday. They're making these decisions now as they go into these final preseason games, and this is the time to try to engineer a trade. We just saw the Cardinals do it this morning with Isaiah Simmons, a former first-round pick, linebacker who's now a safety and unhappy in Arizona, and they got only a 7th rounder for a 7th round, a former first-round pick. So that if a trade is made, it's not going to be the 2 number 2s that the 49ers got for Alex Smith back in 2013 or so. So that's a possibility, but I still think that the likeliest scenario is that he's still on the team when they play the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1.
Matt Barrows joining us on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Matt, that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. Is there a realistic scenario that Trey Lance finishes the season as a San Francisco 49er?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there is, because we saw it last year with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, people were a lot more certain, including the 49ers, that Garoppolo wouldn't be part of the team, and he was. Look at it from the 49ers' perspective, they want him here because they want that quarterback depth, which they obviously ran out of. That's been paramount to them all off season. It's why they have 4 quarterbacks on the roster right now. If you look at it from Trey Lance's perspective, it becomes a little bit more complicated. I would imagine that his gut reaction yesterday was to say, screw it, if you guys don't want me, I'll just go somewhere else. But when you start to take some time and things cool down and you look at the situations, is there going to be a scenario where he joins a team as anything but a number 3 quarterback, which is what he is in San Francisco? And he'd be a number 3 quarterback that is coming in cold, doesn't know the offense, has really no means of overtaking anybody aside from injuries and poor play and things like that. So he's got to weigh all that. But it would seem to me that the 49ers, a team that he's familiar with, a team where he knows injuries are a very real possibility. Look at all the QB injuries that this team has had before. A team that he could come in, say in mid-October and really make a mark. And then if that were the case, he would really be in demand, either at the trade deadline or more likely at the end of the season. And I think that's the scenario that the 49ers are looking at as well. I mean, they could get maybe a 6th-round pick, maybe a 5th-rounder for him now, but they could get something better for him in the spring when teams are starting over, when new coaching staffs are coming in and they're reorganizing their quarterback rooms. And they put Trey Lance, I don't know, at the top. I don't know if any team is going to make him a starter, but they're going to make him a guy who can compete for a big role on their team. Whereas now, all these teams are kind of have their rosters set. Training camp is over. They've been finished installing those offenses for months. So he would be starting midstream, and that's why I think sticking with the 49ers is probably the wiser move.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. Matt, you know me, I'll put the tinfoil hat on. This just seems strange. Like, did Trey Lance, did Sam Darnold really outplay Trey Lance enough to make that decision and separate, as Kyle said that many days ago? Is there something we don't see that's going on, and Kyle and John are trying to protect Trey from, saying something like, well, the guy just can't memorize the playbook? Or I don't know. Is there something missing here, in your opinion?
He said the word separate initially, and then he doubled down on it a little later in the interview he had yesterday, where I think he says something like clear separation. And that, all the players recognized it, and he had to keep it real. Now, I know that going into that Raiders week, they were neck and neck. Neither of those guys looked great, and Sam Darnold certainly didn't. I actually, at that point, had Lance a little bit ahead of Darnold. But then the Raiders game happened, and, Lance just kind of still looked like a young quarterback who was hesitant, wasn't quite sure when to get rid of the ball, things like that, whereas Darnold looked like somebody who had played quite a bit. They were more even in the second game, of course, and that was a really nice one for Trey Lance. I think for Kyle Shanahan, it's a matter of aggression, really. He wants quarterbacks that drop back and plant that foot and just fire the ball into the correct spaces. And I agree with you. The practices in between that, which is the time period we're talking about now. We're talking about what happened in the Raiders game, according to Kyle Shanahan's timeline here. What happened in the Raiders game, all the practices after that, and then the game against the Broncos the other night. Sam Darnold did not set the world on fire in those situations. In fact, he had a 1 for 7 practice at one point, completed 1 of 7 throws. It was pretty bad statistics there. What he was doing, though, was kind of going for the jugular. He was trying to hit the seam. He was seeing the open guys. He wasn't hitting them in those practices. And my sense, of course, Kyle Shanahan hasn't made himself available to the media after this decision, but my sense is that that's what he wants to see. That's what he sees from Brock Purdy. That's why Brock Purdy is the far and away leader to be the number 1 quarterback, and that's what he's been starting to see from Darnold. Darnold had learned the offense and was throwing to all the right targets. Was he accurate on all of them? No, but as you saw in the 2 games, he wasn't putting the ball in harm's way, which has been the big Darnold critique over the early part of his career, and he was aggressive with his throws. And I think that's what, quote unquote, separated him from Trey Lance.
Matt, any chance we see Trey Lance on Friday against the Chargers?
Shanahan said he wants to see that happen. It would go, if Shanahan gets his way, it would go Purdy. And Purdy for significantly longer than he played against the Broncos, maybe 2 or 3 series against the Chargers. Then Darnold comes in. Then Lance comes in, and Lance is likely coming in with the third team unit again. But the ball is in Trey Lance's court now. If he decides that he doesn't want to be here, then I doubt that the 49ers would play him and risk an injury that would certainly keep him here. You don't want an unhappy quarterback. So, I mean, that's what the 49ers challenge is to sort of manage this decision and explain to Lance why being here starting the season as the number 3 quarterback is his best option. And I think they're right, but there's a lot of emotion that goes into this. And I certainly can see it going in a different direction as well.
Matt, I hope we talk about this every year, but you're doing your fingers only push-ups. You have cleaned your keyboard. You were doing, we always say there's preseason in football for the players. There's preseason for the journalists as well. I hope everything's good and you're on pace to be ready for week 1.
Yeah, this is a dress rehearsal for me too. I mean, 7:00 start. That's a tight deadline, Dave.
That is.
So if I'm not ready by late August, I don't know if I'm going to be ready by September 10.
I'm just glad the contract is secured. The guaranteed money's there for future Hall of Famer Matt Barrows, still with plenty of career left, by the way. Those young whippersnappers aren't touching your 40 yet. That's for sure.
Well, in this industry these days, you can play deep into your 60s.
That's
so
true.
That's my plan.
We'll talk to you soon. And obviously, we'll be talking to you all fall. Appreciate you joining us this morning, Matt.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Talk to you soon.
Take care. We'll take a break. When we come back, let's recap that a little bit. We've also got some more audio as well, including what 49ers star was obviously caught completely off guard and